everyone, and welcome to Marketing and Sales Over Cocktails, the weekly podcast that helps you grow your business, improve your life, and enjoy yourself along the way. I'm your host, Allan Langer, and every week we try to bring you the best thought leaders, the best business leaders, and the best minds out there to help you succeed in business and in life. So sit back, relax, grab your pad, your pen, and your favorite beverage, and enjoy the next episode of Marketing and Sales Over Cocktails. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Marketing and Sales Over Cocktails. This is your host, Allan Langer, and today we've got another great guest, and actually we've got an author on the line today, and this author he has penned 4 books, and he's got one that just was released, and you got to get out there and get it. We're going to get you all the information on that as we get through the podcast, but Alex Goldfayn is joining us today, and Alex will be talking about what he calls the 5-minute selling system, a proven simple system that can double your sales even when you don't have time. So we're going to get to Alex in about 30 seconds. Before that, just one quick announcement. Remember the Ask Allan segment of the podcast. If you send in a question through the marketingandsalespodcast.com, we read your question on air. You will get a free autograph book from me. So send that question in. It is marketingandsalespodcast.com. Okay, that is out of the way. I am excited to talk to Mr. Goldfayn. Alex, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Allan, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I have a question.
Absolutely.
All right, this is going to be seen on video, right?
It is going to be seen on video.
All right, so I should look decent and not put my feet up and scratch and stuff. We'll just look at each other and talk.
Don't eat a crumb bum or coffee cake right now.
All right. My cocktail this morning, we're doing it in the morning. I know usually you do these things in the evening, so I appreciate you accommodating me. My cocktail is an iced coffee.
Yes, and we can virtually cheer the coffees because I have today actually I'm in Rhode Island and it went from 92 degrees yesterday. I woke up this morning, it was 71. So I've got the windows open. I've actually had a hot cup of coffee for the first time all summer. Great. So enjoying the weather. Where are you actually located?
I'm in the Chicago area.
Chicago.
And so we're on a hot spell, which is good because I'm a big vegetable gardener. And so it's good for my gardening pursuit because they like the heat. And this year, this is very nerdy. And I can talk about this as long as you want, Allan. I'm trying to grow a giant pumpkin this year is what I'm doing. A giant pumpkin. I've been thinking about doing it for a while. And my wife said, if you can't do it during the pandemic when you're home every day, you'll never be able to do it. So I'm doing it. And yesterday, it surpassed 400 pounds.
Get out of here.
My pumpkin is 400 pounds. I can send you a photo of it and you can put it up with the podcast if you want.
I absolutely want a picture. I actually planted pumpkin plants this year. They're still in the vine stage, but
yeah, I
could probably talk about this to you as well. I'm a little bit of a gardener myself, but I think our audience probably wants us to get going on
pumpkins are awesome, man. And I just want to say that 400 pounds is impressive to normal people like you and me, but to giant pumpkin growers, it's just a drop in the ocean, man. These anything under 1,000 isn't terribly interesting. So over 1,000 pounds, they get interested. The giant pumpkin
is fascinating.
There's as with any little niche thing, there's a community of these. Amazing. They're very, very nice, very, very helpful.
I wonder if there's a pumpkin podcast out there.
You are my first podcast of the day out of 5, Allan. And
okay.
So I'm sorry to go into that personal direction.
That's totally okay. All right. I have one pumpkin question though. How do you weigh it? Are you growing it on a scale? Like, how do you know?
So it's a great question. What you do is, because obviously you can't move the damn thing, right? It's right. Kind of, it sits where it sits because it's so big. You measure it in inches, 3 different ways. You measure, and you do a circumference the long way around, right? So if this is the pumpkin, I do like what I have access to kind of from stem to base and back around. And then I measure from side to side. And then I measure the vertical way, right? Okay. Away from each of the steps. So you do 3 different measurements. And then there's a chart or a calculator, if you wish, where you take the inches and convert them into pounds. And they're pretty close because they've done this for many years for many different pumpkins. And you get it's an estimated weight, right? It's a conversion from inches to pounds.
Wow. Yeah. All right. Well, you heard it here first, folks. How to weigh a pumpkin if you're growing a big pumpkin.
That's right. And also,
contact.
It's really similar to how I can estimate my own belly as it grows. I can tell how much weight I'm putting on, Alan.
That would be scary if the chart actually was accurate that way as well.
Yeah, no, the fit of my clothes is quite accurate. When I can't button it anymore, I know exactly what's happening.
Oh man. All right. Let's get into this. So tell me about your book. It's 5 minute selling. I'm a sales guy. Obviously, I've been doing this for 27 years. When I see something like 5 minute selling, a simple system that can double your sales. So tell me a little bit about what that means.
So the book came out, we're talking on a Wednesday. The book came out yesterday on Tuesday, right? So we're literally one day after the launch. And so 5 minute selling is an approach to growing your sales significantly in just 5 proactive minutes a day, but in system, which means not when you happen to think about it randomly, this day and that day, but every day. Give me 5 proactive total minutes a day by communicating with customers and prospects who you know, and your sales will go up. And let me give you an example.
Please.
In 5 minutes, I can call and probably leave 10 voicemails, right? Okay. In 5 minutes. It takes 30 seconds to sort of dial the number, leave a quick message. I have a script in here on that message. In fact, today, I don't know if I'll find it, but today I sent an email to my list with the photograph of the page, the 2 pages that are about what to say in your voicemail.
Okay.
And so when I do it that way, the way that I wrote it here in the script, about 50% to 2/3, half to 2/3 call me back. Wow. So figure 10 a day is 50 a week, is 200 a month, is 2,400 a year. Let's say half call me back, right? 1,200. 2/3 call me back, 1,800. Let's say we really screw it up and it's only 40%, 1,000 proactive phone calls with people that you wouldn't otherwise talk to. Mm-hmm. And that's what I mean by the power of a system. It can't be 5 minutes whenever you happen to think about it randomly. Mm-hmm. It has to be 5 minutes every day. And you go from, calling once in a while, which are snowflakes that fall to the ground and melt and are fleeting. And you go to a freaking blizzard, right? 1,000 conversations in a year. When nothing is wrong with people that I know. And I would say, Alan, how are you, man? I was thinking about you. How's your family? I hope everybody's well. Wanted to catch up. Would love to hear about what you're working on and get your latest and tell you a little bit about what's happening here. And so that's the voicemail. Now that's a 30-second activity. Do you want another example?
Yeah, absolutely. Sure.
So while I have some iced coffee in my glass still before this is all gone, because it's going to be gone soon. Cheers. If it's okay with you, I'd like to tell you a quick story.
I love stories. It's one of the chapters in my book. So fire away, please.
Telling stories is one of your things, one of your 7 things?
One of my secrets, telling stories and how to tell them properly in front of a client.
All right. You tell me how I'm doing, okay?
Absolutely.
I'm going to tell you my story. Tell me, and I'd like your judgment at the end. I was at the Minneapolis airport going home, and I was buying an iced coffee at the Caribou Coffee Shop because that's what I drink. And there was a young lady behind the counter. She's probably 20 years old. And she says to me, would you like a bottle of water with that? And I said, oh my God, she just asked me the did you know question, which is something that I teach. It's a chapter in multiple books of mine. It's something that I teach in every workshop to every client. And I said, do they teach you how to ask this question? And she said, yes, they do. It's a part of our training. And I said, how many people buy a bottle of water? And she said, almost everybody buys a bottle of water. Alan, it's in the airport. Guess how much the water costs? It was one of these fat bottles of water, Guess how much the water costs?
$5.75.
$5. You got it. That's how much the water costs. I can tell you fly because people who don't fly are like $1.50. No, not at the airport. Nothing costs $1.50 at the airport, right?
All right.
So the water costs $5. The coffee costs $3. So with this simple question, would you like a bottle of water with that? This coffee shop nearly triples its revenue from $3 to 8 with water, not with coffee, with water. And the question is, if you're watching us now, what is your bottle of water?
Oh, I love that.
What is your bottle of water? And I would suggest it's different for every customer. They probably have a different thing. But right now, as we sit here and talk to each other, your customers are buying things from the competition, which they could be buying from you, which they would like to buy from you, which you would like to sell to them. But none of that is possible because they don't know. And so we call this the did you know question. Did you know I can also help you with X or Y or Z? Mm-hmm. Allan, did you know that I do keynote speeches at big annual events? But did you also know that the core of my work is 6 to 12 month projects with larger organizations, with customer facing teams that I work with to help them sell more for you? And did you know that my average client averages 10 to 20% new sales as a result of working with me? Mm-hmm. And so each of those did you knows takes like 5 seconds to ask. Some take 3. And in 5 minutes, man, I can ask a lot of did you know questions.
Oh, absolutely.
A lot. So that's what I mean in system. And also, one last thing. We know that 20% of did you know questions close. 20% become business.
20%. So that's a real number.
20% is an actual number after hundreds of thousands of did you know questions tracked. When you go back and look at the statistics in time, because of my clients, we track this. In time, about 1 in 5 become a new line item. Wow. And usually a repeat order because my clients are manufacturers, distributors, service companies. So this is not a one-time thing. This is a forever thing until we screw it up. Ask 5 did you know questions, close 1.
Close 1.
Ask 50, right. Close 10. Ask 5,000, close 1,000.
Yep.
That's how this works. That's why 5-minute selling can make you a lot of money. A lot.
It's fascinating that you bring that up. By the way, you're going to get the Nadia Comaneci score. That was a 10 on your story. Definitely well done.
Thank you. Are we aging ourselves because we both know who Nadia Comaneci is?
I think we are. I would
suggest the younger generation has no idea what you just said.
I know. She was a great gymnast who was the first one to ever score a perfect 10 in gymnastics. So
1984, right?
What's that?
1984, I think.
1984. No, she was in the 70s. What's her name? 84 for the U.S. Olympics. What was her name? Did the 10 after that? I forget her name. Nadia was in the 70s, I'm pretty sure. Anyway. Pumpkins, Nadia, we're getting off.
Must mean you're a lot older than me, Allan, because I didn't watch many Olympics in the 70s. Did you watch Olympics in the 70s?
I don't remember watching it. I remember hearing about her. We'll have to look it up, but I'm pretty sure it was 70s, but I don't know. Anyway, we
entrepreneurs are easily distracted.
Yeah, sorry. We are. But you bring up a lot of great points. Like, that is the same concept. Like, people will remember McDonald's starting with, would you like fries with that? That's a did you know question. People just ordered a hamburger. Would you like fries with that? When I was in my Anderson window days, I led the country in selling entry doors. And because I go in for a window appointment, I say, by the way, did you know we did entry doors? And you're right. Probably 1 out of 5 customers. Oh, really? I do need an entry door, without any idea from the person who set the appointment over the phone that we actually sold entry doors. So that's an amazing point and something that everybody should be writing down right now, to ask your own did you know question. So
yeah, and look, we can take a really accurate estimate. I would say guess, but it's not guess. We can presume very accurately exactly what else they buy based on the things they buy from us. Mm-hmm. Right? If they're buying a door, we know they need hinges. We know they need door handles, right? Perhaps they need the framing, right? And all the other things they're going to buy. And I know this because I've had clients in the door distribution, right? What do they call it? The door and hardware industry, right? Mm-hmm. DHI, I think, was the association. Anyway, spoken there. You can guess, and I work in very sexy industries like that, like pipes, valves, and HVAC, right? But distributors, and manufacturers, and lumber, and steel, and synthetic paving stones, right? But if they buy a furnace, you know exactly what else they need. They need a drip pan. They need a drain hose, right? They need pipes. They need elbows, they call them. I know way too much about these things. So I think they're buying them elsewhere. They're buying them. Ask them to help them with these things. Look, we're talking now. I'd like to help you, right? Now, what else are you buying from my competition that I can help you with so you don't have to think about it again?
Right.
Why should you have to remember it and take more time? We're talking now.
Right.
So if we do that and show up actually trying to help people, they're going to say, oh my God, this person wants to help me. And look, they don't have anybody like this in their lives. The only salespeople who call are people who need something. Mm-hmm. That's only people who call. When you call offering help, they're going to grab onto you and they'll never let go.
Right. And
they're going to look for ways. They're going to look for ways to reward you with business.
Right. What a concept. Helps someone, and it actually might, help you in return. So this is great stuff. So the did you know question is a huge one. I really like that, and it's something that I train us. I need to be training this with all my clients. Sometimes I'm dealing with a client that I don't really think about it, but now that I'm thinking out loud here, even on this podcast, of some clients that I'm going to be chatting with about this. So that's a great point, and it's something that's just out there and a lot of people don't use. Actually, here's a great example. I was flown out to Colorado before the pandemic. A woman who owns a dispensary out there wanted me to help her with her retail sales. She's like, my retail sales are flat. My guys aren't salespeople. They're teenagers or they're 20-year-old kids who are trying to sell. They don't know a thing about selling. And one of the things we did was I said, well, I was watching them for 2 days, observing, and someone would come in and big seller were the edibles, like the gummy bears and things like that. And they would buy one box of edibles and leave. And they would say, give me the cherry gummy bears. So I said to them, every time someone asks for that, why don't you say, have you ever tried the blueberry ones? Very simple question.
Good, right.
And they, right. I would say more than 1 in 5, like 50%, like, no, I never tried them. Give me a box of those too. Boom, doubled their sales on the single transaction by that one question. So it works. It definitely works.
It's a great story. I have flavors, right? Just flavors. I have a paint client. They make paints. They have clients that only buy black paint from them. No other color. And when they started asking, do you need some white paint? Did you know we also make white paint? People started buying white paint. Amazing.
What?
Look,
wow.
your customers niche you into the thing that they always buy from you. You sell them black paint. This other guy over here, he's the guy for white paint, right? They niche us. And similarly, here's the tragedy here, Alan. We niche them too. Yes. We niche them. They only need black paint. If they needed white paint, they would ask us for it. No, they're not going to ask you for it because in their head, you're not the guy for that. Right. You're not their person. So we have to offer them white paint, and more than once, because once usually isn't enough. Once, if you tell somebody once and then you tell them again a second time, they will most probably say to you, I didn't know you did that. Right? And you're like, dude, I told you 2 weeks ago. What do you mean you don't know I did that? And I know it was you. And so the lesson is, just because we tell somebody something doesn't mean they know.
Right.
Right? We remember because we think about it all the time. We think about our stuff. Right. They don't remember.
They don't remember you. I mean, what's the statistics? Only less than 30% of a conversation is remembered by the person, especially a sales conversation. They don't remember half the stuff you if you're selling a technical product, that's where I really get into stories of like, turn your technical product and put it in a story context rather than just talking about right. Throw a feature dump at somebody with, right. all of these things that are technical. Like a copy machine is a great example. Everybody sells the same damn copy machine, just different colors, but everybody does the same thing. So how do you differentiate yourself? Well, you put this copy machine into the context of a story. So right. that's how I talk about the stories in my book. So go back to that. I want to just, if I can pick your brain a second on that script you were talking about, if you feel like sharing. So you said spend 30 seconds leaving a voicemail.
Yep.
So 2 questions here. 1, what should the voicemail say? And 2, what do you do now in the world of LinkedIn and texting and phone calls becoming less and less in use? Because before March, nobody was using Zoom. Very few people were using Zoom. But I wasn't using Zoom, and now I'm a Zoom expert. I'm on it every 5 times a day. So, how would you answer both those questions?
I already did the voicemail script, and it was so fast you didn't even notice it.
Exactly.
The voicemail script is, Allan, it's Alex. I hope you're doing great. I hope your family's well during this difficult time. Listen, I just wanted to catch up with you and hear the latest of what you're working on. I had a interesting success story with a client that reminded me of you and made me think of you. I would love to share that with you, and also a little bit about what's happening here. So if you have a few minutes, please give me a call at this number, and I would enjoy the conversation. So that's it. And half to 2/3 will call back.
And can that be translated into, would you do that on a LinkedIn message? Would you do that on an email, or you want to stick to voice? Excuse me.
Here's my general take on those things. You asked me about, LinkedIn, email, text, and so forth. And so here's what I think. I think that, and I have a lot to say about this in the book and just like now in my head. I think that nobody's very good at using the phone. I think even now, we're all sitting at our desks, right? Today. In business. Those of us who sell, those of us who buy, everybody's doing the same thing, Allan. We're all at home and we're all sitting at our desk, right? And we all have our damn phone next to us, don't we? Mm-hmm. Where's your phone? Can you reach it from where you're sitting?
No, when I'm on a podcast, I throw it on the other side of the room. Sometimes.
Is that right? You can't, really?
Yeah.
First one in 40 some podcasts. You're going to be the only one.
I don't want to be disturbed.
I can't be disturbed. Now, people are more reachable than ever, right? More reachable than they've ever been. We're not flying anywhere. Yeah. We're not really in meetings. We're on Zoom meetings, but we're not really in meetings. And yet, still, nobody's calling. Phone's not ringing. Nobody calls. And I think if you're in sales and you can get good at using the phone now, you're going to put so much distance between your stuff and the competition that they will never be able to catch up. That's how much distance you will create. If you can get good at using the phone and call your customers and prospects for when nothing is wrong and say, how are you? I was thinking about you. Now, what are you working on these days that I can help you with? It's called the reverse did you know question. Mm-hmm. Are you still there? You're not moving and it looks frozen.
No, I'm good. I'm here.
Just paying attention? Okay.
I'm riveted. So
I couldn't even see you blink because there's a glare in your eyes. Yeah. So I wanted to make sure your video wasn't frozen. Good. Thank you. Thanks for breathing. So in terms of what's effective, nothing is more effective than, let's just go in order from best to worst. Nothing is more effective than face-to-face meeting, right? And you can't do that now. So you can't do much of it now. So, and also when you could do it, how many can you have in a day, right? 5, 6, and that's a really busy day, right? To go see people. On the phone, we said I can make 10 voicemails in 5 minutes.
Right.
Not that that's my goal, but that's what I can do. You can talk to a lot more people than 5 or 6 on the phone in a day. So there's that. So I would say meetings here, telephone about here. And the reason it's only half a step worse is because we can talk to a lot more people and we can communicate with a lot more people. And then so you've got these two here. And then somewhere in the middle, right about there, is text messaging.
Okay.
Texting is the next best thing. So if you need to write somebody something, do it on a text. The reason is, if you text me, I'm going to see it. If you email me, it's probably less than 50-50 odds that I'm going to see it, open it, process it with my brain, and do something about it and react to.
Well, that happened. That happened with us. You sent me your book jacket and I never saw it. We were talking about, you were scheduling this and And I asked you to send me the book, Jack, and you're like, I already did. I sent it 2 weeks ago. And I'm like, holy crap, I never saw it. So you're 100% right.
Well, and we were already talking. So that wasn't a cold call. I wasn't cold sending you my book jacket. You asked me for it and I sent it to you. and you didn't know you had it.
Yeah.
Right. And we were already emailing each other at that point.
Absolutely.
So, you know, if you send an email, which, by the way, let's go back to our scale. An email is right there at the bottom, the very bottom thing. Sending
for the folks who are listening, he's got his hands separated. One's near the top of his head, one's under his chin, just for a visual there.
So an email is basically the same as doing nothing, which in B2B sales, it's basically the same as doing nothing. It might be worse than nothing because now you're in the middle of all the junk, right? Yeah. You're in there with the stupid stuff and the guy and the prince who has money for you if you just send him your bank account and I don't know, whatever retailers you're getting pitches from and the news digest that you might have subscribed to 7 years ago and never unsubscribed from. So above email slightly, maybe 10 or 15% better than emails, LinkedIn messages. Maybe 20% if you twist my arm. Mm-hmm. Make a strong case. People will see LinkedIn messages more than they will see their email.
I agree.
But far and away, miles apart from each other, the phone call is the best thing, and there is no close second. Texting is not a close second. Texting is a distant second.
Wow.
And emailing LinkedIn messaging is a distant third.
Right.
Now, do you want to talk about why this is so? Why do we all avoid the phone? And why do we even Zoom? We're all Zooming, but nobody's calling on the damn phone. You want to talk about that? Why that is?
I absolutely do.
The Zoom call can be scheduled. And the Zoom call can be expected. And on the Zoom call, the odds of rejection are relatively low. Mm-hmm. The Zoom call is probably not a selling conversation. It might be, but the Zoom call is probably not a place where you're building a relation. It could be a relationship building thing, but it's not a place where you're going for the business, probably. Mm-hmm. The phone call is, the phone is. And the odds of being rejected on the phone are much, much higher than the odds of being rejected on email, on LinkedIn messaging, even on text messaging. And so we can send our email. This is why everybody goes to email. Fear of rejection. Mm-hmm. I've sent you my email. I've succeeded. I've done it. You got my email. There it is. And you haven't rejected me yet because you haven't replied, because you haven't seen the damn thing, right? You haven't replied. But there it is. I've succeeded. No, you haven't. You haven't succeeded if you've sent the damn email. Did they get the email? I don't know. Did it go even into their inbox or into some junk folder? I don't know. Did you see it with your eyeballs? No idea. Did you open it? No idea. What do you think about it? How did you react to it? No clue. If I do these things on the phone, when I say, Allan, where are you at in that quote, man? I was thinking about you. I'd like to help you with that. Now I can hear your voice. Mm-hmm. I can ask you a question and shut the hell up until you answer it. We can talk to each other. I can understand what issues you might have. I can ask you what you think about it. But the reason we avoid the phone is because the rejection is intimate. It's into our ears. And that's and we salespeople are driven by a gigantic fear of rejection because we get rejected more than any other profession on the planet.
Right.
In baseball, you go to the Hall of Fame if you fail 70% of the time.
Right.
I'm a big Cubs fan, right? We fail a lot more than 70% of the time. Never said that before. That's funny. But, look, if you only succeed 30% of the time in baseball, you go to the Hall of Fame. You're one of the best ever. In sales, we succeed way less than that. We succeed. I think you're really damn good if you succeed 10% of the time, maybe 15, mm-hmm. And you're one of the best, which means 90% of the time you're hearing no. Mm-hmm. And we have to go through the no's to get the yeses. We must go through the no's. We have to get rejected like crazy to get to the yeses. There's no choice. But so many of us avoid the no's. And so we can't get to the yeses.
Right.
We can't get to the this. It's impossible. If you're not being rejected, you cannot get the wins. You're not trying if you're not being rejected in sales, you know?
Of course. Absolutely.
It's the work. And so many of us hate that enough to avoid it and not try to ask and get the business. So therein is the psychological problem. The fear of rejection keeps us from picking up the phone and doing the work that we know we should do.
How many of us listening, and I know this has happened because it's happened to me when I was a young sales pup, you actually want to hear the voicemail instead of getting the client because you don't want to be rejected by the client. You know, you're like, oh my God, he picked up the phone. Now what do I do? Where you just want to get into a groove and leave a bunch of voicemails. So you're so right about that.
I keep hearing from people who tell me that nobody's calling them. You know, my clients who run my programs, everything in the book, my clients do, you know, so this is not theory. That's, you know, sort of professorial theory. It's in the book, but it's stuff that my clients do. They've been doing it for over 10 years. And we have over 10,000 salespeople that have been through this program. And we know exactly what works, what hasn't worked. I do it for my business. I run a $3 million consulting practice. So everything that's written here is we know works. So I don't remember where I was going with this. What were we talking about right before? I went off talking about
the fear of rejection, and I was saying that a lot of reps, especially younger reps, don't even want the person to pick up the phone because they don't want to be rejected. They'd rather leave the voicemail.
Thank you. I'm now getting old enough that I'm literally forgetting my train of thought in the middle of having the train of thought. What I thought about was that my clients tell me all the time that when they call their customers in this process that we do, their customers tell them that you're the only one calling me, you know, and they literally say some version of these words. The competition must not care. They must not give a damn, but you do because you're the only one here. Now, look, we think their phones are ringing off the hook. They are not. When you call, you're the only one. You're the only one calling. So if you want to stand out from the crowd, use the phone.
Get back on the phone.
You want to be memorable. If you want to be interesting, if you want to try to help your customer to the point where they're going to feel like they owe you work, they owe you business. You know, I've had people say to me, you know, he's trying so hard that I feel like I owe him something.
Right.
And the reason for that is nobody else is trying, right? Sounds like you could relate to that, Alan.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. This has been amazing. We're already, I think, approaching the 40-minute mark, and I promised you 35. So I'm keeping you. I know you got 4 other interviews. Let's get to the Ask Allan question. And this is one I saved because it came in from Jeffrey, who is out in Connecticut. And Jeffrey said, the next time you have an author on, can you both answer this question? He writes, I have a book in my head, like, don't we all? I have a book in my head, and I'd like to know how to organize everything to get started. So that is such a broad question, but I'm going to throw it to you, Alex, and then I'm going to give you my take on it as well. So that is Jeffrey's question. I have an author. I am answering his question, and he's going to get my book. So go ahead.
You know, I think it's hard. There's 2 different versions of the answer. One is, do you have a publisher? And the other is, are you publishing yourself? Right? So my last 3 books have been published by Wiley. The way that I structure a book is we cement the table of contents first with my editor and we go back and forth until we're happy with it. And then I start to write. So the structure is lay out your table of contents first, and then you start to write. One of the key things to know about a book and writing one is that it's your book, which means whatever you decide the structure is, that's the right structure, right? And stop, for God's sake, trying to make it perfect. This is for most things in sales and marketing. You'll never feel like you have the perfect table of contents. So just create a table of contents that you think is good enough and helpful. We don't need perfect. We need helpful. Make it helpful. Go. Write the damn book. Don't think about it for years because you won't write it.
Yes.
That's my take. What's yours?
And I would add to that, you have 4 books. I have 1. But what got my book written was the day I decided to schedule the writing. I walked into a coffee shop, and it's kind of a long story. I won't tell it, but I was prompted that day on January 3rd of 2018 to start writing my book. And at that point, I was running 3 sales appointments a day. 10 o'clock, 2
Why
o'clock.
were you prompted on that day? And when you're done with the story, I'd love to know the answer.
Okay. I'll tell, so here's the quick version. So in this coffee shop, which was the first time I ever entered this coffee shop, on the counter, she had this box of what they call cue cards. They're little black cards, a big cue on one side, and you flipped it over and it asked you a question or a statement that prompted you to think about something. It's pretty cool. It's a concept. If you order them, they come on a big metal ring and you can just keep them in your house, and every now and then you look at them. So out of this huge box of cards, I pulled one and I turned it around and it said, "What would you like your legacy to be?"
Cool.
And at that point, I was having a crappy year, a lot of different things happening. And I realized I didn't want my legacy to be what it was turning into. I'm a writer. I'm a sales guy. I'm going to write my book, my sales book that's been in my head. So I called my boss at the time and I told him I'm taking every morning off for the rest of the year. I'm not running any 10 o'clock appointments. And he fell on the floor and said, "What are you, nuts? That's 30% less revenue." And I said, "I know, but I have to do this." So my point to Jeffrey is, when I sat down and I scheduled that time to write every morning, and here's the thing, Alex, I went into that coffee shop. I wrote my entire book in the coffee shop. I was in there every morning, never wrote it at home. And I finished it 5 months later simply because I made a commitment to write every morning.
How long did it take you?
It took me 5 months to write it, and then the editing and all that design stuff took about 7. So it was published 13 months after I started writing it, February of 2019. So anyway, that's how I would answer it, Alex. The combination of both of that, hopefully that helps you, Jeffrey. And what Alex said, just do it. Sit down, put the Nike commercial on, and just do it. Just sit down.
So Allan, your answer is go to the coffee shop and pull the right card.
Go to the coffee shop, pull the right card. Find a spot with you. I like to say, find a spot with your words. Like I would try to write somewhere else, and there were no words there. So it was like, I was always comfortable in that coffee shop, and that was my spot.
Good.
So
that's great.
Well, Alex Goldfayn, I really appreciate you joining me today. This has been awesome.
Yeah, great to be here.
I'm going to go out and I'm ordering 5-minute selling as soon as I get off the call with you today.
Thank you.
Just what you said in this 30-minute, 40-minute segment is gold, and I'm sure there's a lot of nuggets in there. So, Alex, thanks for joining us. And any parting words for the sales audience we have in the...
Yeah. So the book is based on some planners, and the system is based on some planners and some trackers. And I'm holding one up on the screen here, the Action Tracker, which is one of the cores. You can download them for free on my website. You can go to goldfayn.com, get the planners and the trackers, 2 planners, 2 trackers, and that will make up the core of your 5-minute selling system and help you actually do the work.
And it's alexgoldfayn.com, Fayn.
It's just goldfayn.com.
Oh, okay. Not Alex. Okay. So goldfayn.com. You can find Alex. He's also on LinkedIn, where I found him. And I'm sure 5-minute selling is on Amazon and wherever you can buy books. So check that out. Alex, I thank you again for joining me. You have a great day over in Chicago, and everyone else listening. Thank you for joining Marketing and Sales Over Cocktails. Again, visit the website. It's marketingandsalespodcast.com. Send me a question. If we read it, just like Jeffrey's question, you will get an autographed copy of my book. And thank you and everyone else for joining, and we will see you again next time.